Hello and welcome to 5 and 5. Today we have Brenda Han with us. She is the Executive Group Director for Ogilvy Singapore. Thanks for joining us, Brenda.
You're welcome.
So we are going to spin the spinning wheel of categories to decide which topic we're going to delve into.
Great.
Bear with me a moment. Can you see that?
Yes, I can.
All right.
It's a real wheel.
Ooh. Could you read out which category it's landed on?
Business for good.
Okay, fantastic. So first question, do you think that all businesses should be businesses for good?
Yes, they should be. Yes, they should be.
They should.
Not always the case, but they should be.
And what do you think are the changes or sort of steps that brands or companies should be making to be a business for good? Or could
well, I've been thinking about this a bit because I think it's a human need and desire to look for purpose and meaning. And there was a huge announcement from the US, and I can't remember what the council is called, but it's the kind of top heads of businesses have a association or a council that meets with the US government, and it's literally represented by all of the largest companies in the US, and they have put out a statement that businesses should go back to serving all stakeholders and not just shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, like, I was listening to some interesting podcasts, and that was the way it always was that the companies were created, they had their view on serving multiple stakeholders. So whether that's the environment, of course, all of their staff and the community that they operate in, and not just for profit shareholders. So the podcast I was listening to, and of course it's American, but it was kind of going back to the concept of business for good was always the case, that businesses are created to enhance the communities they are in and create products and services that people need and society needs. So actually, we've gone off really in a direction of really driving for profit, and now we're trying to go back to what it should be the case, because when we stay in a position of only trying to serve shareholders, then it's not sustainable for the planet, for people, for communities, and for society in general.
Absolutely. And is there a specific brand or a campaign that you admire that is, or a socially conscious business that you respect?
Yeah, absolutely. The one that comes to mind most is Patagonia, and they are virtually to the extreme of being activists, right? So the way they operate their business, and they're very much against consumerism, which is interesting for a company that sells goods, clothes goods. But Black Friday has just gone by, and they've yet again put out a strong statement to say that it's going to be more expensive to buy from us on Black Friday because all the extra proceeds are going to go back to repairing the environment. And they've been very vocal in their policies on how they will call out companies and governments who are exploiting the environment. And I believe they've funded films, feature films that talk to that subject. They've got amazing employee policy where they have on-site childcare centers and very much integrates just employees' family life into their work life. So it's a whole ecosystem of really caring for all stakeholders and using the power and might that they have towards environmental good, which they care very much about. So they're a big role model.
They very much sort of walk the walk, not just talk the talk, isn't it? And they really stand by what they say. It's pretty impressive.
Yes, absolutely.
Are there any brands that Ogilvy or campaigns that you've worked across that stick out as being a business or a brand for good?
Yeah, so a large Ogilvy client for many years is Unilever. So I've never worked on Unilever myself, even though I've been there for 13 years. But
right.
you know, I think you're dating myself, but Unilever certainly were one of the original corporations that led with business for good and using purpose to really guide a lot of work that they do, not just in communications, but in terms of how they invest and how they choose to operate. So, and they have very strong results in terms of showing that that strategy has worked, and not just business and market share, but also with employee engagement. So that's it's a client that probably comes top of mind. But you know, a lot of our major clients, and actually for every organization nowadays, is they would have to really put some meaning behind any purpose or any cause that they champion, because they will get called out so easily if they don't. So whether it's IBM and using its technology to make cities smarter and make help cities plan, and if they, you know, they're involved in so many interests. And again, IBM, another huge client for Ogilvy for many years that I've not worked on, but there's that. And in the time that I have worked at Ogilvy, one of my most significant clients has been American Express. So when they relaunched their brand internationally, this was when I was in London almost 10 years ago now, they really centered their global brand platform around realizing the potential. And it came from the brand truth of people don't realize how much potential their American Express cards can bring to them.
Yeah.
And in the same way, there's a potential in people and in businesses and in everything else that we're not realizing. So the platform went on for a good 10 years and was really centered around unlocking potential, which again, you can take it from a superficial way all the way to a quite a meaningful way. So that was something that, and I think in all my clients, whether it's, it has to be something that's true to themselves. So another longtime client that I worked on, which is UPS, and very much an engineering company, but very impressive engineering company. And, you know, they were really down to earth, you know, from Atlanta, from the South, and their brand essence was all about united problem solvers. And this was a good 5-6 years ago when I was involved in it. And it has to come down to the company DNA and what they're comfortable talking about and championing.
Absolutely. And it just makes such a difference if that company does have a purpose and, you know, wants to not just, you know, add value in your daily life, but, you know, it has a bigger purpose and a bigger mission. You just feel so much more inclined to support them and be part of that. And I think now we're seeing a real shift in people's ideologies and people wanting to support company and, you know, and choosing with how they spend their money, these brands that are not just entertaining or, you know, spending the most on adverts and things like that, but actually have a purpose and are going to make a real difference in the world. So thank you so much for that, Brenda. It was lovely talking to you. And yeah, this has been 5 and 5.
Thanks, Natasha.
Speak soon.